Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we are answering some questions. Now do note this is in two parts. The more personal about me, my music, my business, everything me is on my personal channel, Maxim Solemn. I'll put a link wherever, you'll find it. And then the Vanguard only questions are on this channel. So do be sure to check both out, subscribe to the other channel as well. I would really appreciate that. And let's start answering some questions. Yasser covers Yasu. Question, what got you into card games in general? Now this is an interesting one. I was a kid at one point, I know, mind-blowing. And so it was just normal for a kid to play card games. The difference was that I was extremely obsessive. So I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! I collected some Pokemon. I then quit. I started Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. I quit. I tried some Magic the Gathering. I quit. I tried some Yu-Gi-Oh! I quit. I started playing Vanguard. Played that for a while. Quit again. Then started playing Vanguard again and so forth. So I've played a lot of them. By now I think I've played all the big ones. But yeah, the first one was Yu-Gi-Oh! I think most people who are into Vanguard started with Yu-Gi-Oh! They were kids when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the thing to play. Maxwell Ting, what are your favorite clans of all time? Well, Grand Blue is a very obvious one. Do you see this? It's so over the top, but I love it. Is this gonna be time for advertising? Of course. Oh, I love pirates. Pirates are really cool. I also just love water and stuff, so link for this and that will be in the description as well. Really big on Grand Blue, really big on Great Nature, Aqua Force, Shadow Paladin, Dark Irregulars. Those are like the big ones for me. Emerald Samurai, top 20 things you feel Bushiroad SCA could do for the English game to keep it going strong. I think Bushiroad SCA does a really good job, honestly. I feel like whenever I talk to various people from SCA, they really want this game to keep doing well, and there's just some shackles on them from Japan, you know, like Bushiroad is a gigantic company. It's not a small publisher who focuses on Vanguard. Bushiroad has like so much stuff, so many intellectual properties in Japan, and Vanguard is honestly just a tiny sliver of that. I don't have their actual financial reports, but if you look at the sheer influence they have over the wrestling thing in Japan and so forth, SEA is not the one with all the control over the game. It's mostly Bushiroad Japan, and then SEA mostly just follows whatever they are told to do. So like, sure, they could use social media way better. I feel like they don't necessarily have like a real digital agency helping them with that. It's pretty hard to say as a creator, because I think one of the most important things is actually supporting your creators. But then you could say, oh, that's so biased though, because you're a creator, you would get something out of this. But like, no, with my actual company Solemn Tones, we're also very heavily invested into creators. How do I explain this? Jesus fuck. The TV shows we watched when we were kids that made us play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and made those the big thing, kids don't really watch TV anymore. They're now on social media. So if all your fucking funds aren't going to dominating social media right now, you are not doing what Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon did back then. I often see people go, oh, maybe we should have the TV show of Vanguard on TV, so then they will become big like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Because I remember when I was a kid, but you're no longer a kid. Times have changed. So social media, it's the most important thing ever right now as far as being known as a brand goes. And so sure, they should do more of that, but they are mostly shackled by Japan in that regard. Their funds come from Japan. But yeah, this whole tangent separately, SEA isn't the primary mover, let's say, in whether or not Vanguard grows in the West. Of course, they have to do their best, and I feel like they do. It mostly has to come from Japan. Social media dominance should be their #1 goal. Sir Panda 1188, will you make a Majesty Lord Blaster playmat? Probably not. Lezim Demirovsky, what are you excited from Butterfly the Moonlight? Okay, that set is gonna kill me. I love Grand Blue. I'm gonna max everything. I'm gonna get the Ruby Labyrinth rares. I'm gonna get the SPs. I'm gonna get everything. But here's the issue. I also really like Dark Irregulars. So now I have to get all the Dark Irregular stuff. But I also like Pale Moon. I've been like finally finishing up my Pale Moon premium deck. Now I gotta get the Pale Moon stuff as well. And then Murakumo is likely gonna be busted as fuck again. So now I have to get that as well. That set is gonna blow me away, but Grand Blue is the most important one for me. I am question, which is better for a meta? All 24 clans on par with each other, or only some clans are on par with each other? Okay, so this really depends on what you want to get out of the game. If you are a casual player, it's of course best if everything is equally strong, because then you're like, oh cool, I can have some fun with this and I can have some fun with this, and everything's a utopia and everyone's happy. However, competitively speaking, that is not the case. If we look at a game from a competitive perspective, the primary goal for a good player should be to win as much as possible. Like, we can all agree that the goal of a great competitive player is to top major events or even win major events. If that is your primary goal, the most important thing is that a top player can consistently do well. What will ensure that you can consistently do well? Stability. You want to make it so your effort in practice has the highest effect. So if you think about it, imagine you're a pro player, you have spent a lot of hours practicing, Swiss starts, and let's say there's 4 decks that completely ruin your deck, and you have a great matchup against everything else. This will make it so Swiss RNG, essentially, the computer just going, okay, it's this guy against this guy, that randomness will influence how well you do. Because you're essentially saying, I'm grabbing a deck, and it's impossible to have the upper hand against all the other decks, because that would imply that it's not all 24 clans being equal. If one deck has the upper hand against all 23, that means it's not equal, right? So from that point onward, you're essentially saying that the rest of your Swiss rounds will largely depend on the random idea the computer is generating. So you are taking away the reliability with which a good player who has invested the most time can top. The more clans are available and good at a certain point, the more likely it is that the format will be relatively random. Now, of course, there's like other issues. Imagine if there's a tier 0 format where the best deck, the mirror is like a total dice roll. Sure, that's an issue, then we're not talking about really competitive viability again. But just in general, it's way more likely for a very diverse meta to be extra random and thus less skill intensive. Or well, not necessarily less skill intensive, but more so less affected by the amount of skill / time you have invested. In my opinion, if you're very competitive, it is ideal for you to not be completely fucked by the random matchup generator of the Swiss computer. That's essentially my point. Gordy Arc, what can I do to improve my skills at Vanguard because I always lose? That is so general. I'd have to watch your games. Maybe your decks suck. Maybe your decision making sucks. Maybe you don't think your moves through. Maybe you're second guessing. Maybe you're never committing to anything. Maybe you're playing too slow, as in like you're not establishing dominance in the game early on enough. Maybe you're playing too fast, as in like using your resources way too... There's way too many variables to know why someone would suck. Or maybe you don't actually suck. Maybe it's you thinking that. Maybe you're always remembering your losses because those affect your mind the most. That's also an option. There's people who often say like, oh, I always break. It's like, no, you break maybe once every 15 games, but that once has so much emotional impact on you that that's the only one you really remember. Tike Tunza. Will you do an updated Tavas deck profile? If we get another Tavas, sure. Like if there's something to update, I'll gladly do an updated deck profile. But there's just been nothing coming out for my favorite clans in so long. It's hard. Sofia Delaya, how did you discover this game? I was at an anime convention, friends told me to try it, I bought the Blaster Dark Revenger trial deck and boom, that was that. Tree Frank, how do you feel about Buddy Fight and have you ever tried it? Buddy Fight, you know, it died, that's sad. I feel really bad for people who were really good at the game and now have to like find a new game or quit games altogether. But I never actually played it. I think its worst issue was really its name. Buddy Fight was so cringe as a name. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, okay, a game for 4-year-olds. And then when you actually look into it, it's more complex than a lot of card games. So, you know, that's just really shit branding. But I'm sure the game's really cool. I Chill Edge, what do you think about Murakumo getting support? Do you think it'll be good again like the last 2 years where it has been meta? We'd love to know your opinions. We don't know, you know. For all we know, Bushiroad prints a new Murakumo unit that says, when you ride this card, you win. For all we know, they make a card that says, you do nothing. Like, there's no way to predict that. If we look at the past trends, we can see that Murakumo has been tier 1 or tier 0 every single time it got support, but there is like no indication or no way to confirm that that will be the case again. Togen Istrubich, which art of Luard is your favorite? Personally, I like Dragheart's art the best. That's a tough one, you know. I own all of them in max rarity, and I don't know, fuck. I think Dragfall is the coolest. I never really liked the green in the Dragheart art, but yeah, I think Luard overall is pretty cool. Actually, if I had to choose, it'd be Belial Owl. I love that card. But yeah, those were all the card game related questions. I hope I didn't forget any. As I said, be sure to check out my personal Q&A as well, where I talk about my music, business, so much stuff that's like not related to cards. I'll put it in the comments, I'll put it in the description, I'll put it everywhere so you can find it. Like this video, and I will see you soon. Ciao.